Roll camera. Mics up. And action. Live from Australia, streaming around the world. The most cinematic podcast of your week awaits. This is Bottomless Popcorn with your host, Morgan Brown.
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan and this is another episode of Bottomless Popcorn. Welcome to the show. On today's episode, we have a friend of mine. His name is Mike Vial. He and I used to work for the same cinema together. Mike had a job that I think all movie lovers wish they had, which was head of film programming, which meant he got to watch a lot of movies and got paid to do it, which I think is something a lot of us could relate to or wish we had. Mike has picked his top 4 favorite films to talk about when going to the movies today. Surprisingly, he has not picked the film Baywatch from 2017 in his top 4, which really surprises me. I don't know what happened there, but he does have a great selection of films. So let's jump straight into it and speak to Mike about his 4 favorite films.
Okay, my name is Mike. The last movie I saw was The Power of the Dog, which is Jane Campion's new film, which is due out shortly.
Very nice, and definitely one to check out at the cinema, you think?
Yeah, it is. It's it's not mainstream, but it's it's a really good film. Definitely worth having a watch with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, cool. And she's Australian too, right? Jane Campion.
Well, I like to think she's in New Zealand actually.
Okay, just making sure. So she's in that Russell Crowe, Sam Neill category, I guess.
No. We've given you Russell Crowe. We're sticking with Sam Neill, but we'll keep Jane Campion, but we'll give her a little bit.
Cool. Just before we get started, I was going to talk about how you and I knew each other. So we both worked for the same cinema company, and I was probably the most annoying person to reach out to you on the daily asking you about all sorts of films. I think is a pretty accurate description of how that working relationship went, I would say. Yeah, no, that's not too bad, but to be honest, being in the industry and film is the key thing. It's actually refreshing to be talking with people that have a passion for film, because that's our business. So yeah, absolutely. And like the role,
well, some of your choices in films are pretty poor, I must admit. But
mate, Baywatch is a top 10 movie of all time. We all know it. It's absolutely robbed that it didn't win the Oscars that year. It's an absolute travesty. But but your role is something that's really a movie lover's dream. Really, like you literally just get to watch and see all these amazing movies and decide what theaters we're going to show them in and stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. So I head of programming. So what that means is really, choose which films should be played within the cinemas that we run. And look, it's a great role and everything, but there is a lot of rubbish out there as well that you have to watch at the same time. And it's also, I think the key to it is not putting your own personal opinions necessarily onto it. You've got to look at who your customer base is. So, some that times, like I've seen films which I've thought, wow, that's just the greatest film out, but we won't play it because, it's not commercial.
Not our customer base. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of, like you were just saying before, like a lot of film festival, you get the privilege of being able to go and see a lot of these kind of really obscure titles that, are trying to find some sort of distribution. But exactly as you were saying, it's just kind of it's a mainstream cinema kind of game, and these kind of aren't the movies we're really after. But
exactly, and it's and that's the interesting part as well. The amount of films being made is, like we talk about how many films, like every week, you're going to get 2 or 3 films released in the cinema, but that's a fraction of the films that are actually available out there. It's just most of them don't go anywhere near to sort of finding a marketplace for a cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, like as well, I guess with the advent of like streaming and stuff, there's just far more avenues for them to go. So they kind of don't all belong in cinema, but they definitely find an audience still anyway. So it's not 100% sad stories for all of them. But
no, exactly. And that's some films, they're not good enough to be played in a cinema. People don't want to go out and spend their money, but so to have that availability on another platform is, I think it's okay myself.
Yeah, nice. I'll jump into some questions for you, Mike, and I'm really excited to hear your answers on these, just because I know how much of a cinema buff you are, much like myself. I'd like to
Because
say
they might be quite weird.
Perfect. But as we all know, a trip to the cinema is not complete without a pit stop at the candy bar on the way through. So what snacks are you going to grab on the way in here today?
Look, you can't go past the choc top, that's for sure.
Of course.
You definitely need to have that. Probably people have sort of worked this out already, but I'm originally from New Zealand. So forget the Maltesers and stuff. You had to have a Jaffa.
Oh, okay,
I don't know if you know what Jaffas are, but
yes. Yep.
So the
orange, that's
the
orange, like, yep.
Yeah, they were the key, and they used to get thrown down the aisles and stuff and make quite a lot of noise.
Yes,
and then just the popcorn, it's fairly simple, I suppose, in my
yeah.
candy bar requirements.
Yeah. I think my biggest mistake has been proven to me a few times in recording these episodes, and that's my friends have seemed to work out that I always buy one size bigger than I need to get in the popcorn. So they won't buy one, and they'll wait till I get at a certain point in the movie and stop eating it and ask if I'm going to finish it, at which point I'll save their $7 and just finish the rest of the box I didn't eat. So I'll tell you what, actually, someone else said choc tops the other day, and I never used to have them. I would mainly just do popcorn and drinks. But that in 2017, I went to the movie convention on the Gold Coast. I've never eaten more choc tops in my entire life than that week, when they're just free and there's a freezer there on the way in, and you just pick up.
But doesn't it seem the right thing to do? You're about to go in and watch a movie, so
it does seem like the right thing to do, and especially when you got people in your ear like Shane and Ben telling me, "Yeah, get us one," and you come in with a handful and no one wanted one, so you've just got a shirt full of choc tops and just no one to eat them. So someone had to do it, but it was me that week.
Exactly.
I think
you did well taking the one for
one for the team.
Yeah.
When you go to the movies, what's the preference you have for like the theater you'll see it in? Do you go for just standard like traditional cinemas, or are you going for the big screen, or do you prefer the gold lounge where you get the food and drink delivery?
I think it depends on the film. If you're going to see a big blockbuster, nothing better than seeing it on the big screen and a nice reclining seat and that sort of stuff. But then saying that, you get a little sort of indie sort of classic, a foreign language even, or something like that, and it's actually quite nice to be a little bit sort of tighter and sort of smaller and really get into it, I suppose. Yeah,
absolutely. And the cinemas like we worked at too recently, some of them have gone through a bit of a renovation and a bit of a technology upgrade. So the advent of things like Dolby Atmos is for me, that's definitely a big draw card. If I know it's going to be played in that format, I'll definitely seek out seeing it that way. I think so.
And it makes a difference on those big films, and that's the thing, some films they're not made with Dolby Atmos, so it's not such an issue or that sort of thing. But we spoke earlier on about the whole size of the IMAX and films being made for IMAX and that sort of stuff, and that's one thing. But the large format, premium large format screens now, they're just great to watch.
Absolutely
coming out. That's for sure.
Do you remember the first movie you ever saw at the movies?
You're just trying to work out how old I am.
Of course.
It's very old based on this one.
We're trying to work out if it was in colour or not.
I think this is it, but I don't know whether it's one of those sort of memories I have or whatever, but I think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was actually the first film. I remember seeing that unbelievably young kid.
Yeah.
I was brought up in a really small town, so the one picture theatre with the big screen and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and just remember that, and Dick Van Dyke, and
nice. Did you find that scary as a kid to see that?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
What do you think it was for you that it was like the scary?
Well, I suppose because they were after the kids and that sort of stuff. So but it was, and it's just the whole experience. A
bit overwhelming. Yeah.
Once again, you think back. That film was released, that was early 70s, I think. And, a TV would have only been sort of, sort of 30 centimeters just about wide and that sort of stuff. So suddenly go to a cinema and see, massive things on the big screen. It was a phenomenal, I remember loving it, but yes, I definitely got scared by it, that's for sure.
What's a movie that you can remember more for the experience of seeing the movie more? You remember that more than the actual movie?
Yeah, look, I did quite a bit of, when I finished university, I went traveling and that sort of stuff and did a lot of backpacking. And I remember watching A Clockwork Orange in this little cinema in Argentina.
Okay.
And it was, just something about it, because pretty sure at that stage, A Clockwork Orange had been banned in New Zealand, so you couldn't see it.
You're kidding.
I'd never seen it before. First time I saw it, and that was just quite amazing, really. And other people there, and
Was it in English, or had it been dubbed? Or
no, it was in English. No, it was definitely in English. But and I can still, I suppose, and then you look at some of the big blockbusters that have come out. The Avatar, when that came out in 3D, that was. Seriously, that was an experience and a half. It was, to me, that's what 3D should have always been. It wasn't about sort of spears and everything coming at you. It was just that whole immersive view that you got, which was just amazing. So
and then we've got 2, 3, 4, and 5 to look forward to over the next decade. I hear, right? So
which is going to be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to them, but the whole 3D side of things is quite different now as well. So.
And I believe they're in the high frame rate technology that they developed for The Hobbit, but I think it's all rebranded again, right? Like it's just going to be 3D and not really made much of a fuss of, right?
I think so.
Films based on like books, novels, that kind of thing. Are you someone that kind of reads the book or looks at the source material before you see a film, or do you take any notice of it after you've seen it, perhaps?
Yeah, a bit of both, to be honest. I think my top film actually is one that definitely has the book side of it as well.
Yes,
which we can sort of get to. But another one is I remember The English Patient. I read the book first, and to be honest, I didn't really like it at all. But I enjoyed the movie, where I know other people have been the other way around. I'm both ways on it. Sometimes I watch it before, sometimes I watch it afterwards. And I honestly probably don't think one way or the other is better or not. It's probably all based on the source material. And for the number one film, I love them both, the book and the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think I know some people usually get really upset about this and the book's always better than the movie and stuff like that. But do you really think they're like actually evenly matched to be like kind of judged together? I know that it's the same like story kind of thing, but I really think that it's kind of like an unfair, almost point kind of thing.
Look, I think it is. It depends, and this really comes down to the writing of the book more than anything else. Some books are just, it's all about the written word, and you get into it by that, and it's just really hard to put it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Whereas, other books, which sort of don't rely so much on the wordplay, I think they can work on the big screen fine.
Yeah. That's why I think a lot of people get like hung up in that argument too, is there might be like a detail, but it's like half a page of describing an action, and in a movie that's something that takes a second, and then someone's like, oh, in the book all this happened, and it's like, well, it still happened, it just didn't take you
exactly
that amount of,
and you don't and that's what I'm saying, some of them you get that feel, you can, as you're reading it, you just get the feeling of the whole thing, but you're absolutely right, that might only be a 5-second sort of piece, even within the book, but it's a whole page, the way they've written about it and everything and behind it. And you can't, that's pretty hard to get up on the big screen. So
yeah, I agree. Well, it looks like your first trailer's coming up, so we'll take a quick look at that, and it's for the film Jojo Rabbit.
Poor Jojo. What's wrong, little man?
Hi, Adolf.
Want to tell me about that rabbit incident? What was all that about?
They wanted me to kill it. I'm sorry. I couldn't.
Don't worry about it. I couldn't care less.
But now they call me a scared rabbit.
Let them say whatever they want. People used to say a lot of nasty things about me. Oh, this guy's a lunatic. Oh, look at that psycho. He's gonna get us all killed. I'll let you in on a little secret. The rabbit is no coward. The humble little bunny faces a dangerous world every day, hunting carrots for his family, for his country. My empire will be full of all animals. Lions, giraffes, zebras, rhinoceroses, octopuses, rhinoctopuses, even the mighty rabbit. Cigarette?
Oh, no thanks, I don't smoke.
An absolute classic by Mr. Taika Waititi.
He's a god.
Isn't he?
Yeah, look, and to be honest, I could probably have chosen a couple of other of his films, as one of the favourites. Like I Love Boy, Hunt for the Wilder People, even Eagle versus Shark was great as well. And then, Thor Ragnarok was just brilliant. But I suppose what I liked about this one was how he sort of went to the extra level in terms of the whole storyline and sort of putting himself in there as the role of Hitler. Mm-hmm. Which I know upset a few people and that sort of side of it.
Yes.
But when you watch the film, I got, and I think most Australians and New Zealanders especially get where he was coming from on it. Yeah, and 100%. He wasn't sort of making out as if Hitler was a great funny guy or anything like that. He was actually completely mocking Hitler and that sort of side of it. And I just thought it was really well made. The kids in it, excellent, yeah. So good. The best friend, I just realized the other day, the other day when I was looking up some stuff about this, is just been cast as I don't know if it's the same character, but he's the Home Alone reboot, the young friend. Archie. Right, okay, yeah, Yorkie.
Yes. So Yorkie. Sorry, not Archie. What did I say?
Well, Archie's his name. I think it's Archie.
Right. Yes, that is his real name. Sorry, yes. Which I thought was quite exciting, and I think that'll be really cool to see on the screen because that little kid seemed like just the biggest sweetheart kid that just wants to go home and cuddle his mum, as he says in the movie. But it was great. I saw this one overseas I think I saw it in Finland, maybe.
Oh yeah.
In English, but it had two different sets of subtitles going across the bottom. So at the very beginning, I felt like I was kind of distracted, but then immediately forgot about it because I was just, I don't know, man. He's on fire. Like everything he does just turns.
It's the way he makes films now as well. Like he's got that humor in it, but at the same time, there's more than just the humor in behind everything. Like even Thor Ragnarok, very funny film, but there's a lot more to it than just that. And
I tell you what, I'm still gutted that through work I got sent to the Thor Ragnarok premiere, and the only person I met was Chris Hemsworth, when the only person I wanted to meet was Taika Waititi. I'm still filthy about that. I reckon I was the only person that left angry because I met Chris Hemsworth and not Taika Waititi. But film too has like a lot of like pretty deep and like unexpected moments, I think too. Like
exactly.
It's been out for a while, so we can spoil it. But I think shoes being set up, and then
and it hits you as well. And I think that's what I like about it. You've got that the sort of the humorous side running through, but when the key thing when the square, it actually gives you a real wallop, I reckon, in terms of absolutely. The sort of punch and going, wow.
I'd looked up a little bit of trivia as I was saying, and to what you were talking about before about how the Australians really got Taika, what he was going for with Hitler and stuff. There's some quotes of him saying when he was asked why he was the person portraying Hitler, he just said he just didn't seem like someone that was worth doing accurate research on, so it didn't matter who played him. And then there's also a bit of stuff about how he smokes and he's eating meat, but in real life he was an avid non-smoker and vegetarian. But doesn't matter because he wasn't a nice guy, so he didn't care to misrepresent him, which I thought was quite funny.
I think there's something he says as well, isn't there, where he talked about how he couldn't think of anyone better to play Hitler than a
Polynesian Jew. I didn't know he was Jewish, which is amazing when you find that out. Yeah, it's crazy. It was so good. This one you can probably answer two ways. So best soundtrack and best original score in a movie. What films stand out as those for you?
Look, best score. Honestly, I don't think I can go past Star Wars.
Okay, yeah.
John Williams. Yeah, just phenomenal. In terms of the best music, though, probably two relatively recent films. Baby Driver by Edgar Wright.
Yep.
That was another film that could have been one of my top ones as well. And what I loved about that is how the music is choreographed to the action as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like, the guy's walking down the street and it's all in with the beat of the music and that sort of stuff. And that was brilliant. And just for a straight sort of music side of things of the songs, 500 Days of Summer.
Oh yeah, that does have a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it does. Really good soundtrack with
Yeah, that is a good one. Did you go to the Hans Zimmer concert when he came through Australia or New Zealand?
Sorry, which one?
The Hans Zimmer when he came with
the
orchestra.
No, I didn't. No.
I bought some tickets and went to that when he came through, and that was absolutely unreal. He doesn't have like pictures and stuff from the movie going on with, but he just introduces them and what movie they're from and stuff. And but hearing it live with that orchestra is awesome.
Well, we went. Ben and I went to the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra doing the Star Wars.
Oh, cool.
At the Palais in Melbourne. And that was just amazing. Just the whole thing. They did have the movie.
Yeah, that's the one where they play the movie and then they actually live play
the... that's great. Awesome. That was really good.
I would love to go to one like that. I think I saw there's like maybe a Harry Potter one or something coming up shortly, so I might have a look at trying to go to one of those, I think, because it sounds unreal. What about the best looking film? You could do that two ways. So the camera movements are all amazing and look really cool, or everything within the frame stands out as being really good looking, costume, sets, locations, stuff like that.
Yeah, best looking film. I think a lot of the best looking films, apart from when you've got the massive landscapes and that sort of stuff playing. But, I'd sort of go with something like Blade Runner or, even Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Which I think just looked absolutely amazing.
And
I think a lot of the sort of the big sci-fi sort of things have that sort of side to it,
For sure. And the two ones you just said too are like have a lot of practical elements. Like it isn't entirely CG for those landscapes too, which I think helps sell it and probably adds to the realism and the enjoyment of the aesthetic of it as well, I guess. Yeah,
and then like a really old one, Lawrence of Arabia. I don't know if you've seen that, but when it comes over the sort of hills and stuff like that, it's just that epicness, I suppose, which I think is when you get that right.
Yeah. And they're also films too that are now really rare and made an event of in terms of how they were shown, like the 70 millimeter kind of stuff. That's real event kind of stuff if you go to the movies to see that now. But back in the day when they came out, that was just part of the mechanics of how it was done, and it wasn't anything special. But I think if I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia, but I think if I had the opportunity and I knew there was like a filmic showing, I think I'd definitely seek one out to see what I was talking about.
Exactly. And that's, we talked earlier on about, seeing things on the big screen. That's something you need to see.
That's why you do it. Yeah, exactly. How about the funniest film you've ever seen? What do you think's the funniest film?
Yeah, well, that's my number two.
Okay. Let's go back to that one. We'll circle back.
Look, I suppose it's my sense of humour and that sort of stuff. But other ones sort of similar to what my number two is. Naked Gun, sort of stuff. That still just sort of cracks me up every time I see it. I remember watching Borat at the Australian Movie Convention, and they played that about 10 o'clock at night after everyone had been out for a few drinks, and that's it. And
the crowd really
honestly, I had to watch the film again because you couldn't hear most of it because everyone was just laughing so much. So silly sense of humor sort of stuff. I love all that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's Borat's 2006-ish, I want to say, right?
Oh, yeah, it would probably be around about that,
Yeah, I'll double check. 2006, yeah.
There you go.
Jeez. Well done, a 10 p.m. showing.
Oof. I am impressed.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, what about the opposite of that? What's the saddest film that you've ever seen?
Oh, the saddest film. So that's not bad, sad. It's just sad.
Yeah. Well, it can be whatever you want, really.
Well, I didn't want to mention it early in the conversation.
Yeah, sure.
The saddest film. Okay, let me have a think on that one. It's funny. There is a film that to this day I cannot remember the name of it. I remember watching it on television when I was young, and it sort of finishes with the soldier who'd been lost and came in lost his leg and walks down the aisle of the church. And right. I think it's the first one I remember like crying emotionally to, and that sort of stuff. But I've got no idea what that was.
With that film too, the one you were just describing, is that something? Did you say you saw that on television or at the theater? Yeah.
No, it was on television. It was, black and white film.
Yeah, I just think if you see it at the movies too, that's also a big part of remembering it. I think just because of what we were talking about before, like the scale and the presentation and stuff, and probably sticks with you a bit more because you kind of made the effort to go out and buy the ticket and stuff, I guess. But if I guess, like we just said on television, it's just something you flick past and
exactly,
just land on it, so you're not really sure what it is when it even started. But
so look, there's obviously films like The Color Purple and that sort of stuff. I think, which
it's probably film.
When I sort of think of the sad films, I think of sad and the theme of the film and that sort of side of it, and how some of these things can that they're portrayed, how it can happen. So
yeah, sure. I've never asked you about this before, but what horror films what's the scariest film you've ever seen?
Yeah.
You don't do it. You're not big on my horror films.
No, not really. I must admit, I'm not don't watch horror films, but I'm not
it's not my first choice. I'm the same.
But the scariest one is actually probably the first horror film I went to was Friday the 13th.
Okay, yeah.
So I was brought up in a pretty small town of about 5,000 and that sort of stuff, and went and watched it with a mate, and there was hardly anyone else in the theatre. And have you seen it? Friday the 13th?
I think I've only seen a remake. I don't know that I've seen the original.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's sort of the whole way through you're on your edge and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so I'm sitting there clutching the bloody armrest and that sort of stuff. And then you sort of think it's all over right at the end. And I'm going to I'll do a spoiler on this one because if you haven't seen it by now, tough luck. And so they're out. So, it's everything's over and they're out on the lake and they're lying down on the boat. And they sort of wake up and you sort of, I managed to unclench my, hands and sort of start relaxing. And then Jason jumps out of the water. Seriously, I think I shifted about 3 rows. I went so high. So I always remember that as being one of the definitely one of the scariest ones that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I always remember one of the first horror films I saw theatrically was the first Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
and they're just not at the time. They weren't for me. I'm coming around on them, but I just remember seeing the kid doing the cinema checks and just wishing that were me so that I could walk out of the room and not have to go into the cinema next door and just immediately see something a bit happier, a bit lighter. But it was the same. I think I was holding on for dear life the entire time. I've never wanted the credits to start.
They were good. They were really, they're really well done, all those sort of films, but it's just,
they are. And they all turn massive profits because they're made for next to nothing too, which is, I wish I had the the creativity to have thought of and done that, I think.
That's very
Has a film ever made you mad? I think we kind of just were talking about that, like the content of it, where like the emotion is up and it causes a reaction, but has it ever made you mad?
Has it made me mad? Look, possibly a film that, which made me really mad was Shyamalan's The Village.
Oh, yes.
And, God, that just annoyed. I don't know if I'm mad or just annoying, but I was just furious afterwards going, I watched that piece of rubbish just for that. And that's sort of
one of his lesser twists, I think, that one too, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can sort of see it. It was just bloody annoying. Once again, I suppose it's that sad, mad sort of similarity in some ways. But in terms of just being mad for the sake of not liking the film or something like that, and even though, I probably do sort of merge a little bit more towards the art house side of things, there was a film a few years ago called Hidden by a guy, Michael Haneke. And people rave about it. I saw it at a film festival, and seriously, 2 hours I'll never get back. And and that just annoyed me. It annoyed me more when everyone else was going. And a typical film festival thing, everyone's going on about how wonderful this was and that was. And the only thing that happens is in the last 2 minutes of the film, something happens which then makes you go, oh, okay, so that's what that was all about. Before then, it's just like, oh God,
it's a big drag. Yeah.
So I get angry at that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's not enough groundwork or enough given to kind of justify the ending, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You get badly made films and that sort of stuff, and but I don't get mad at them. So
sure, very good. All right, I'll jump on to your second movie trailer now, and it is Cinema Paradisia.
Tu qua non ci devi venire. Ma come te lo devo fare capire? Se può sapere, come hai a parlare? Se prende fuoco la pellicola, a come sei piccolo tu, fai una vampata sola, boom!
E diventa un pezzo di carbone.
Minchia che lingua lunga che hai. Un giorno l'altro te la taglio. Proprio così.
Me lo posso prendere? Allora me lo posso prendere? Me lo posso prendere?
No!
And I have not seen this, but I've looked it up and read about it, and I cannot believe I haven't, because it just sounds like a real cinema lovers kind of movie. And specifically like the actual cinema, not so much the movies, but the actual cinema. I think I understand why you might have liked it. Is that the case?
It's definitely a film. Yeah, it's about a young boy in this little tiny village. There's me sort of saying it after talking about my small town, but this is even smaller than that. And how he sort of makes friends with the local projectionist, and it's just one of those. I keep telling people it's just a beautiful film. It's the passion once again for film, which both the projectionist has and the young boy. And it's foreign language. It actually won the Oscar for the foreign language film, but it's just a really, really nice film. And if you like cinema and you're passionate about film, I think you'd love this.
Yeah. And it's definitely almost like a history piece, because it's not the way things are done anymore either. Like that,
exactly.
That entire, I guess, aspect of its plot, or what they love about cinema, really isn't something that exists in many places anymore. It's kind of
and the story as well. It's told, so it's set when this mostly when this young kid, but it sort of starts off with the older version of the kid coming back into the village, and he's a successful film director and that sort of stuff. So you sort of know that.
Sounds like my life already.
Yeah, and I just think that's just really quite cool, because even though things hadn't changed as much as what they have now from the digital age back to then, sort of thing, there's still that sort of movement from what he was doing to where he is at now.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, has Cam seen this? Do you know? Because I imagine Cam would be all over this. And if you watched it with him, he could 1,000%. Oh, I know exactly what that projector is. He's laced that wrong. It's back to front,
Yeah, so you probably picked something up that this wasn't quite right, where I just looked at it. And right.
Yeah, cool. It came out in 88, I've got.
Yeah.
But it's not set then, I don't think. It's not set in 88. It's set much earlier.
Yeah, it is. I'm not
because I think that's what they're talking. It's nitrate film and stuff they're talking about, not.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I think when he's the older person, it's roughly around about that time.
Yeah.
But because he goes back to when he's young, so no, it's definitely a lot earlier than that. It's probably late 50s, 60s sort of, would have thought roughly.
Right.
Sort of maybe even earlier. It's sort of not too far outside the after the war.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's kind of almost slightly biographical. The director is a man called Giuseppe.
Of course.
Yep, that's the one I said. But it's filmed in his hometown and in and around the theater and kind of places he used to go as a child too. So it sounds like the movie, if it's not written by the same guy, I'm not sure, but if it's not his love letter, he's put his own bit on it by taking it to his own hometown and stuff, I guess, too. Well,
exactly. I'm pretty sure he did write it as well. So
yeah, okay. I'll definitely have to add this one to the watch list. As
I said, if you like film, and which obviously you do, and that sort of stuff, and you've been involved in the cinema world, sort of from the back end and that sort of stuff, I just think it's really sweet.
I'll jump on again, Mike. I've got a couple more questions for you before your third trailer. I think I know the answer to this one, but do you watch films, or do you take notice of the films that are winning awards or garnering nominations and stuff? And is that usually to you a sign of a film that has good quality or something you might enjoy?
Yeah, look, honestly, yes, I do like to sort of be aware of what films are. I like to go and see them and I suppose critique them and sort of see But at the same time, it comes back to where we spoke earlier about the role that I'm in. Is just because it's a sort of a wonderful film, it might not be necessarily
to your taste. Yeah, exactly.
Or my taste, or for our audience's taste.
Yeah. So
you've always got to take that into consideration. But no, I love watching sort of films and seeing, you don't always agree with them. You sort of wonder how the hell did that thing get there? But
and I know in your role too, you probably see a lot of films earlier than critics are allowed to review them and stuff in the first place. So I know occasionally, a few times I've been lucky enough to see something, a couple of weeks or months out from its public release and stuff. But even if that's the case and you've seen it that way, do you ever find yourself looking at reviews after to see if they kind of agreed with your thoughts on the film?
I'd love to say no, I'm not that shallow, because
that's exactly what I do. Yeah.
Oh God, did I get that wrong?
Yeah. Yep. I'm there too. What's a film that you can't believe you haven't seen?
Tell you one film I haven't seen, but I can believe it, is Titanic.
Oh, really?
I have not seen Titanic, and honestly, I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
I suppose when you know how the story ends, it's I couldn't see the point of it, frankly.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. I had someone else say that Titanic the other day too when I asked that. So I'm actually quite surprised that a few people I've asked now haven't seen it. I really thought.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't seen it, actually. Yeah. Okay.
No, I can't really think of. I suppose I haven't seen all the Marvel films, and that sort of side of it. It's like I quite enjoy them. I don't, and I think they're well-made films in general. But once again, it's just one of those things.
Is there a film you've seen you really loved it? You might have seen it recently or some time ago, you've come back to watch it another time and you've kind of second guessed your initial opinion of it? It's not as great maybe the second time you're watching it?
Not really. Look, there's some films which, sort of I watched when I was really young and that sort of stuff, and you watch them again and, they just don't stack up in terms of the way it's been made and all that sort of stuff. But no, I can't think of anything offhand.
All right, we'll move on then. What movie surprised you the most? You kind of went in not expecting much and came out really glad it had been something you'd seen.
I think there's a couple of films there. Once again, it's probably just because of the way the films are, but I thought Argo.
Okay, yeah, the Ben Affleck film.
Ben Affleck film, yeah. At the time when he sort of came out with that, Ben was a little bit whiffy.
Yeah.
And wasn't expecting anything from it, and just I really enjoyed that film. It's sort of the film that pretty much what happens when you go in, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat, sort of wondering what's going to happen, which doesn't make sense because what's going to happen. But I thought that was really well done. So I've got probably another couple of films with sort of similar sort of things as Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
I think the films that sort of just grab you and they just, just really nice sort of storylines and, really well acted. That was good.
And I think that one's a bit of a sneaky one too, because it does look like it would be this just obscure indie one too. But it actually, I think when you watch it, is kind of really, it's probably more mainstream, I think, than a lot of people.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. I sort of went into it thinking, Little Miss Sunshine, it's so, it's a sort of film that anyone can get into. It's not, you don't need to be an art house aficionado or anything like that. It's just, it was made really, really well.
I'll move on to your third and final trailer now. This film is Airplane, but depending on where you are, and we're in Australia and the New Zealand region, it's called Flying High.
Flight 209er, you are cleared for takeoff.
Roger. Huh?
LA departure frequency 123.9er.
Roger. Huh? Request vector. Over. What?
Flight 209er, clear for vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Tower radio clearance, over.
That's Clarence, over. Over. Roger.
Huh? Roger, over. What?
Hey!
Who?
Yeah. Look, I think Flying High and Airplane, whichever way we want to call it, it was, just one of the first ones that came out that was just that completely stupid slapstick sort of humor. And there were just so many great one-liners in it. And, Peter Graves as the captain was just absolutely brilliant. It's one of those ones, and that's a film, I watch that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And, I can, you can quote lots of lines and I still laugh every time they come on.
The punchline, the setup, but it's still
just as funny. Exactly. It's just so well done. Yeah. So well done.
It is. I think this film is largely kind of imitated and copied now in newer and definitely a lot of the years following its initial release in the 80s. I think it was 1980. And it definitely started a trend of that type of comedy and stuff as well, which was cool to see. But I also think this is the film that started the trend of why people always never eat the fish when flying. Which has been a smart choice. So
I bet I was asking little boys if they've been to a Turkish bath, but anyway.
I watched a quick, just before we come on, I watched that compilation of all those one-liners in the cockpit where he's just talking to that little boy and asking those ridiculous questions. Have you heard the story about how this has 3 directors?
Zuckers
and Abrahams. It's Jim Abrahams. No, and so they had this issue with the DJ who has the ruling over how a final film is credited. And I didn't know this, but apparently there's some stipulations and it's quite tough to even have 2 people direct a film. And this is quite technical, I guess, but have you ever noticed in the credits, sometimes it's written by and there's heaps of names, and sometimes it's 2 names, but in the middle of it, it's the ampersand, like the and symbol.
Yeah.
And then other times it's AND so if it's ampersand, it's a team. But if it's it's an additional person that doesn't work with the
Okay.
other two, which I didn't know, which is apparently a writers guild thing. But then the directors thing didn't have anything where they could have one or more directors. And it didn't look like they were going to get approval to do it. So at one point, I think it's one of the Zuckers legally changed their name to Abraham Zucker to try and be able to get them
right, okay.
credited. Yeah. But eventually they yielded and allowed all three of them to be credited as directors for the film. But I've gone and had a look at a few other things just after I found that out, and I did not notice how many of them are like credited films like that, especially Riders. It seems to be pretty prominent where there's quite a few on it. So ampersand means it's a team, and separated by an A&D means it's an individual, not part of the team. But
I've learned something new today.
Yeah, there you go. And how about this? So as we said at the start, depending on where you watch the film, this movie almost has a different title in every country it's released in. So Australia, New Zealand, we're flying high. Germany, it's The Incredible Trip in a Crazy Aeroplane. Very long, very wordy. Italian, it's
so humorous of those Germans.
Yeah. In Italian, it's The Craziest Plane in the World. In French, it's Is There a Pilot on the Plane? In Polish, it's Is the Pilot Flying with Us? In Spanish, it's Land as You Can. And in Czech, it's Fasten Your Seatbelts, Please. So really
unbelievable.
I didn't know it had that many.
No.
I know sometimes they have a variation of the words, but that's like they had a brainstorm to title it and they said, yeah, we'll just go with all of them. So each country gets one kind of thing. But
I always thought it was something to do. The reason was there was Airplane 77 or that film about the sort of, they're going to crash and that sort of stuff. And
okay.
I thought they were trying to, that was what I always thought, that they'd call it Flying High to keep away from that. But
I couldn't find, the only thing I could find why is it's made at Paramount Pictures, I believe. And Michael Eisner was there at the time. And he's the guy that ended up heading up Disney.
Yeah.
He's like the second last guy that headed it up now, I think.
Oh,
There's one guy between him. No, it doesn't matter. But apparently it sounds like he was there at the time and he was didn't like anything they were coming up with. So every territory seemed to get a different name, which was quite bizarre.
Well, I think one of the good things though is it just shows no matter what the name, the film still delivered, Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
Whether you call it Flying High or Airplane, it was, or all of those other ones.
All those other ones. Definitely.
It's the humor sort of came out.
Yeah. Oh, and apparently it was shot under the title Kentucky Fried Aeroplane. So it even changed between being made.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen Kentucky Fried Movie.
No.
Okay. Yeah. It's very.
It sounds like a legal problem, maybe from the movie, but I think
a
certain colonel might have a bigger problem.
Roughly around the same time as well, I'm assuming. So it might have been something to do with that.
I've got a couple more before we jump onto your main movie, and this one's the important question. Okay, so who plays Mike Vial in the Mike Vial biopic?
Probably someone that's not very good.
Sure.
Look, I'd probably go with someone like Christian Bale because he can put on some weight pretty easily, so that's good.
All right, we'll lock that one in. We'll give Adam McKay a phone call and he'll come to a picture for him, I think. Do you have a favorite character from film?
Yeah. I think my favorite character is actually.
Is he going to be in your top film? Is he going to be in your top film? Do you want to come?
No, it's not actually. No? Kaiser Sose.
Oh,
from The Usual Suspects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably one of the greatest endings of a movie of all time. Not to give it away, but I feel like that's often how that movie's always brought up.
Yeah, exactly.
Kaiser Sose.
One of the better ones, that's for sure. But Kevin Spacey, obviously interesting background now, but the guy could act.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bryan Singer, the director, as well. Unfortunately,
exactly. Yeah, it wasn't a great merger, was it?
Yes. Do you have a favorite filmmaker, like someone they're making the movie and it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to go see it because they made it?
Look, I think Taika is probably in that category these days.
Absolutely.
I would just go and see anything that he's got. You've always got the classics of the Spielbergs and that sort of side of it, but I'd want to see them, but I don't know if I'd be that disappointed if I didn't see the next film as such. Well, I think with Taika, I'd sort of just jump at the chance and just say, right, I'm giving it a go regardless.
And I think even if it didn't work, you'd still have a laugh watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have a film that you said Airplane is one you come back to all the time, but is there a film you have, at Christmas, birthdays, like anniversaries and stuff like that, like a film you just watch on special occasions?
No, I don't really think so. I suppose because I see so many films.
Yeah.
There's always something else to see. So
I
have films like that, that I've watched quite a few times. But no, I honestly can't think of something that I would do like a special occasion type film.
All right, we'll move on now to your favorite and number one film, and it is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Cheswick, you're voluntary? Mm-hmm. Scanlon? Billy, for Christ's sakes, you must be committed, right? No. You're just a young kid. What are you doing here? You ought to be out in a convertible, bird dogging chicks and banging beaver. What are you doing here, for Christ's sake? What's funny about that? Well, Jesus, you guys do nothing but complain about how you can't stand it in this place here, and then you haven't got the guts just to walk out? What do you think you are, for Christ's sake? Crazy or something? Mm-hmm. Well, you're not. You're not. You're no crazier than the average asshole out walking around on the streets, and that's it. Jesus Christ, I can't even believe it.
Absolute classic of a film.
Yeah, 1975 by Milos Forman. Milosh.
Yeah.
Is this one you saw theatrically?
Yes. Yeah. It's obviously a well-recognised film in terms of won the Oscars and everything like that.
Yeah.
But and also based on a book, but it was just, I don't know, I think it's just Jack Nicholson is absolute ultimate. He is just brilliant in this, and all the characters around it as well.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and just being sort of blown away by everything in it. And then you talked earlier on about the books. So I think this is one where I read the book afterwards.
Okay. Yeah.
And I loved the book, but I actually think it made the film even better.
Yeah. Okay.
By knowing it, because I'm not sure. Have you read or?
I haven't read the book. No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the book, like the film, is all about Jack Nicholson's character, and it's all written, via his perspective. The book is actually from the perspective of Chief.
Okay. Yeah.
The big Indian, American Indian character. So the book is from his perspective.
Sure.
And sort of looking on and talking about the things that Randall is getting up to. Where the movie, they sort of switched it around and they made it from Randall's perspective. And that's that blew me away. And now I sort of watch that film, sort of thinking both ways.
Yeah, it's a film too. Like if I ever see, not that I encourage the people to do this, but if you ever just see like clips have been cut out and put on YouTube and stuff, you could just watch those. And I always just think, like when you see it, like sometimes when Jack Nicholson isn't saying anything, he's just in the scene. Yeah, just some of the cutaways that they go to him where he doesn't say anything. You could just, like, even if they just kept it on him and you just heard everything else going on, like some of his reactions, I think alone would be enough to sustain people's attention and enjoyment for an entire film. Like, I think I think Jack Nicholson in general is like that.
something about him. Whereas you said he doesn't need to be talking and doing all that, but he's just got that presence.
It's so cool to watch, and it is a good one. I might have to look out the book now that you've.
Yeah, look, as I said, it's just worth, because you know the film story so well.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, because they flipped it around, and for them to, when they were making the movie, to sort of say, right, okay, let's rewrite it in a completely different way.
Yeah, it's clever, and I think. I mean, I haven't read the book, as I said, but I think for the film, it definitely works because it's in a lot of lists of films you must see before you die, or top 10, 20 films of all time and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly, and it's got it all. Like the Nurse Ratched is the sort of evil, but the bad character, I suppose, as well. Yeah. So it's got that sort of side of it, and it's got the humor and just the
Oscars you're saying, right? So it's one of only 3 films ever to win the big 5 or 6 it is. So it's picture, acting, actress, and what's the other one? Screenplay, picture, and director as well. Sorry. So the only other the 2 other films that have ever done that is called Happened One Night, released in 1934, and Silence of the Lambs in 1991. And this, since Silence of the Lambs, that hasn't been done again, which is crazy. Like, I just think that's incredible, that like the amount of stories and stuff that keep coming out, and it's had a dry spell again of that such a long time.
But it's a tough one, isn't it? When you think about it, like you think of films, and you can have like an amazing actor or an amazing actress.
Yeah.
So to have the 2 roles where they're both that good, like the roles are written that well for both, it's, as well as the whole, and make the film work behind it. Yeah,
it's something special for sure when it can happen. So this was filmed in an actual mental hospital too, which I didn't know. I assumed it was just like maybe an abandoned one that's just dressed for the parts they need. And you see, but the crew actually started using patients as like kind of local laborers and stuff to help while they were making. And there's only one recorded incident of that not going well, and that's when they were running power to some equipment. They ran cables out of a 2nd-story window, which was then used as an escape method for one of the patients. And the town it was being recorded in began referring to the film as the set of One Flew Out of the Cuckoo's Nest. Which I don't know if they could have predicted that was going to happen, but I mean, I guess it was cool that they gave the inmates and stuff there something to, not the inmates, sorry, the patients there something to do.
The patients, Can you imagine that happening these days, though? No chance.
Absolutely not. No chance. It would have to be abandoned. It'd just be a set. It wouldn't be. Yeah, no, absolutely crazy. Yeah. I've got 2 more bits for you, Mike. I have used one of your top 4 films, and I've trawled the depths of IMDb and the internet to find a 1-star review of one of these films, and then I've removed all the mentions of the film, and I want to see if you can guess what film it might be for, and see if you can defend it from this 1-star review. Okay. The title of this 1-star review is, it's not a PG movie, it's more like an R. If you're looking for a good movie for your family to watch with children, this is not the one. It's rated PG, and I got it for our Friday family movie night, and it was terrible. Dirty language, violence, implicitly erotic, and it made it unsuitable for any family to watch.
Look, PG, you'd probably have to say they're talking about Airplane or Flying High. But talk about someone without a sense of humour, honestly.
Yeah, right. Yes, so it was.
I think they're probably right in all the things they're sort of saying about, all the innuendo and everything that was in it.
Yes,
but, my God, lighten up, will you?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, those the cockpit with the pilot speaking to the young boy, I don't think would fly too well with anyone if it was released today. I think that'd be quite concerning if people went out to film that. But yeah, it was for Flying High. I always find that when I've done these and people have picked comedies, I always just like go in it and just think, Geez, if you took the time out to write a review of a comedy, you mustn't have a funny bone in your body to like get that.
Oh, look, honestly, you can get some comedies that just aren't funny, full stop.
Yeah.
But I just cannot imagine anyone not getting to laugh. You don't have to laugh through the whole of it, but there'd be laughs in there.
Yeah. You'd laugh at one thing for sure. If a movie made me laugh once, I wouldn't totally write it off either, I don't think. But I agree. We've got one last question, I guess. Provided we can go to the cinema between now and the end of the year. It's looking good for me. I think I can go on Monday. I don't know about you yet.
No,
is there something you're really looking forward to, or what's the next big thing you're looking forward to seeing on the big screen?
Yeah, there's a couple. Probably, obviously the new James Bond, No Time to Die. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I've sort of I've been hanging out for it for the last year and a half, really.
Yes.
As a lot of people have been, so I'm looking forward to that. The other one is probably Edgar Wright's new film,
Last Night in Soho.
I loved Baby Driver. As I said, it's I think that's a really good film, and this one just looks like it's different. It's more of a horror and that sort of stuff, or a psychological horror. But I'm really looking forward to seeing it because I think he makes really smart films.
Yeah, absolutely.
That are just great to watch, great to look at as well.
Yeah, for sure. And he has a rhythm in his cutting and in his editing that I think even if you're not interested in perhaps the story, there's something in it that he'll just keep you. He'll keep you held on to, or give you something to enjoy while you're there, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And he also has a sense of humour sort of side of things that comes through it all. Obviously, I have to work with Simon Pegg and that for a while. You sort of get used to it, I suppose. But
No, very good. That was awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting about your 4 favourite movies. There were some great ones there. I'm definitely going to go and watch Cinema Paradisia now, I think.
It's worth it. So great. That's been good to talk about.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Bottomless Popcorn. For bonus content, news, and upcoming guests, follow us on Instagram at Bottomless Popcorn Pod. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you'd like to contact the show, you can email us at bottomlesspopcornpod@gmail.com. And be sure to leave a review of your own favorite film wherever you listen to podcasts. And cut.